Hello. Welcome back. My name is Jessica, and this is Jay Gilly, Psychic Medium Tarot. You may book a reading at any time at jgilly.com. That's JGILLY.com. So let's get into it. All right. So there's a lot going on collectively in the energy atmosphere, in the news, in the media. And I've been rattling around and sitting with the why of it all lately. And what 333 on the clock. What is purpose? What is the purpose of all of it? How to stay in purpose, how to continue the good fight of truth seeking and authenticity, to stay on the path, as I'm sure many of you guys are going through these questions as truth seekers and, the Trumans of the show, I guess, waking up and ascending, trying to figure out what to give your energy to and what is real, what is fake, how to heal your trauma. And a lot of that, I think, is due to the Mercury retrograde and also the Neptune retrograde we're having astrologically right now. It's really important, if you're circling back to old wounds, old cycles, old loops, to figure out how to ascend it and transmute the triggers, the trauma once and for all. And grow where you're planted, blooming through cement kind of thing. And I keep coming back to a lot of the questions on my channel with the recent Charlie Kirk readings are how do we reverse the generational curses? What is the antidote? What is the way forward? Because a lot of our loosh is being harvested. A lot of innocent kids are being harvested. And there are PDFs running our country and sadists. And it's so important now more than ever to stand up and talk about what you see, give testimony to what you see, listening to your own discernment and intuition and speaking up and not just focusing on what is self-serving monetarily, physically, spiritually even. I've just been sitting with that for the last couple of days. It's been really deep contemplation. And especially in the work that I do and the situations I've been put in. And it touches everybody. There's no way someone can not be touched by corruption, by turning the other cheek, or not listening to that intuitive nudge, and not, saying something or not seeking a deeper truth, not digging into something and finding out the truth. A very, very significant part of the Truman Show movie is that he always had the sovereign spiritual ability to find out the truth and exit exit the matrix, so to speak. And I think we are coming up upon a very pivotal time in our world's history where it's like we're going to have to acknowledge the truth and stop giving our illusion energy to the fake ping pong matches in the media, the psyops, and use our own discernment with no rhyme, no reason, no logic, but also through unity. So there's a lot of like, especially in the new age community too, there's a lot of like, when I watch a lot of videos, there's always this like shade throwing, like even with the chosen one jargon. And it's very important at this time, I feel, to be humbled and to not get into ego, not get into righteousness, in a sense that it puts you above anybody else. What makes you righteous is knowing that your heart and intention are for the greater good of all, in my opinion. And if you have to slander or put down other people in the process, well, you're just kind of like stooping down to the same frequency as the other side in duality, in the war. And so where am I going with this? When I was talking to Charlie the past couple of days in spirit, he kept saying like the focus needs to be the children, and this whole show, this whole stage in the courtroom, the ridiculousness of it all. You can see it through the symbolism that they show you, because they have to show you hidden in plain sight in visually what's going on. And it's also a psyop programming you or trying to pull out deep emotion, sense of injustice, and being aside. And the thing that I kept like really focusing on and drilling to home is that the focus needs to stay on the children, the innocent children. And the real psyop behind how the elites manifest. And we've seen it in the Epstein files. We've seen it with a lot of disclosure that's come out, but yet we don't see anything truly being done of significance with people being put into jail or arrested or having to plead their case. And so that's what I really want to focus on. If I have any role or part in channeling, there is some real estate fraudulent corruption going on. And behind that fence, they are transporting children. That's what I firmly believe. That's what I feel in my gut. That's what I see behind the veil when I'm looking at certain interviews, when I am watching certain soliloquies by people. 6 Degrees of Separation from TPUSA. And in the process, what an interesting part that he mentioned to me and brought to light as well was the mind-controlled individuals that suddenly have amnesia. Well, of course, they're going to stick to their story because in their mind, that is the story. That's what they believe wholeheartedly. But it takes true healing. It takes a true self-awareness to go onto the journey of digging deep into the why, to pick up the hood of the car and to see the root causes of everything currently going on or going wrong in today's story, because that's what it is, story. And another point that he brought up was the deeply rooted long history of the divine masculine and the divine feminine energies working against each other. So the female's intuition and their natural gift, their vessel, is the spiritual aspect, the moon aspects that are directly connected to the divine and pull down spiritually into physical existence through womb energy. Now, creative energy is sexual energy. It's one and the same. And that's directly tied to the ability to feel emotions. So in ancient times, females that were actual civil leaders and pillars of society, they were regulating the rules and the law, and because of their strong intuition, that was valued. The more emotional a woman, the more intelligent her baby in those times. Because emotional energy also propels creative energy. And now, today's society, those emotions are the very thing that are silenced, that are negatively spoken on. I can't tell you how many readings men have come to me and they're like, oh, my ex is crazy, yada, yada, yada. And I'm thinking, well, what did you do to get her off her female divine feminine intuition? How did you condition or create an environment of chaos to where she didn't feel safe to trust her own intuition? And so there's a huge conditioning of society and the way that boys and girls are brought up, in my opinion, that washes out their natural born divine gifts and creates a feeling of being unsafe, but also not being respected with both genders. And divine masculine is responsible for creating an environment that feels safe, to protect, to provide, to defend. And the divine feminine is the seer, the visionary. And the divine masculine brings that vision to life. And it's been so dismantled, defragmented. I don't know. I just heard defrayed. Not sure what that means. I'll have to look that up later. But yeah, it's that to me is the root of the problem begins. The family unit being dismantled. Because if you have a family unit, if you have a male that's defending and not lying and not cheating his way through life, that has a healthy sense of confidence and a sense of honor, pride in being the defender and the protector, then you have a woman that is safe enough to feel like a nurturer, to be in her soft femininity, and to heed warnings, to download the warnings, and also translate that to the divine masculine so he can defend. And if you don't have that family unit working like a well-oiled machine together in unity, you have lost children. So you can use that as a metaphor for, just society in general, that the female is working so much that they are not intuitively connected to their children anymore, telepathically, psychically. Pick up those energetic messages that you're handing over power of children, the power to cultivate and nurture them and teach them ancient wisdom. You're handing that over to a system that has wiped history clean and put in a false narrative that's programming, grooming your child to step away from their own God-given intuition and discernment. And it's whittled away little by little. Going, school is no different Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 in corporate America. It's a conditioning. And the dismantling of the American family, or the family all around the world, is a vulnerable family. And they were able to do that because we were too distracted, focused on surviving to make money. And so all of these things have to be looked at when you're self-assessing where you got off path, where you became your own trauma and didn't want to do the work forward to serve others in helping their own healing. And in particular, what Charlie Kirk was pointing out to me is how much the divine masculine has to keep hidden. That all the sexual abuse, I'm gonna say, and secret societies, how they impose their power is through the direct SA of men that is kept hidden and secret. And this starts out very young. I'm going to pull some cards because I'm getting some more channels, and I don't know exactly how this is off the cuff. So just speaking from the heart and channeling what messages I feel need to be broadcast. So I said, how do we start to heal the generational curses? Because every family and lineage, every bloodline is going to have them, that goes way back. And we're also going to have epigenetic memory tied to Pleiadians, ancient Egyptians, Syrians, Atlantis. It's all memory. And as David Wilcox says, the Great Awakening, is going to be when everyone remembers who they are. So self-reflection during this Mercury retrograde is going to be paramount. And we can't change anything as outside of ourselves, as without, unless we do it first within. That's how we change the timeline. That's how we use our God-given gifts for the greater good of all. And be intentional about what we give our loosh, our energy to. So I heard turn the page. Okay. So being cautious about what is fantasy and illusion, needing to make a choice and committing to it. So another thing I'm downloading from this card is that maybe we all struggle with triggers and then we fall back and revert into the illusion or the fantasy because the truth is too difficult to bear or to look at. And we distract ourselves with numerous financial obligations and opportunities. But the real financial opportunity and upgrade comes from being withholding of what we give our energy to, being selective and knowing who is worthy of our energy, our time, our space, our thoughts, our manifestations. I just heard that's how we also help the children. I also just heard, like, what if we all went and didn't go to work for like an entire week? What if we, every single person that would shut down or, you know, shouldn't be eating at McDonald's. You definitely shouldn't be eating at McDonald's. And I don't imagine that people that eat at McDonald's would be watching my channel. But if you are, I encourage everyone to quit McDonald's immediately. Just think about how much they are one of the top elite companies that also heavily infest the food with DNA, human DNA, and chemicals. I mean, at this point, they grow their own. I don't even think we can call them potatoes. How many fingers, how many jaws, how many pieces, how many teeth, how many pieces of human, raw human have we seen or found in the headlines? McDonald's. I mean, just alone, if every single person around the world didn't eat at McDonald's for a week, we probably could bankrupt a lot of the elite companies. And it's just like making those decisions each and every day, and it's tough. It's tough with me. Sometimes I want Starbucks, and that's one that I'm working on myself right now, trying to stop Starbucks coffee because there's numerous lawsuits. It contributes to the big C and other illnesses. And yeah, it probably has some chemicals that are just as addicting as, street drugs or street rugs. But that's something in my ceremonial morning that I have an attachment to. And that's something to self-assess and self-reflect, too. And so it's a process. You have to be gentle with yourself, but also keeping your eye on the prize, on the end result. And the end result that I feel Charlie really wants everyone to focus on is the freedom, mental, spiritual, physical freedom of everyone, but most importantly, the children. And there are a lot of children being held captive in SA and ST that grow up and are still stuck in the system as an adult. And probably with big companies like McDonald's. I don't know why he keeps bringing up McDonald's. That's significant, but McDonald's is a big one. Another thing is blaming, using valuable energy to blame. Because again, everyone is also a victim of mind control and dissociation and blocking out their own trauma, because everyone has experienced trauma in their life. That's basically this shit show we've got here. That's what we have to go through, unfortunately. But I'm the type of person that I want to stay enthusiastic and positive and hopeful that new era is upon us, that with the power of like the human consciousness and ascension and the ability to have their discernment and see through the veil, see through the illusions, that changes and evolution are possible towards, you know, a time of peace. I have to believe that to keep going, right? Um, I just heard the name Kara randomly in my mind's eye. I got the card Happiness in Reverse. It says interference from relatives, a brief fleeing external forces impacting relationships, hostile work environments, tensions among colleagues, disagreements with family, and finances. So, yeah, I would imagine that this is the culprit for just about every person struggling right now. And collectively, probably a sense of sadness, depression, or the ability to see the forest through the trees, to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so the remedy I'm downloading is you simplify. You stop worrying about what people think. You stop worrying about blaming others. You stop projecting. You stop immediately putting labels on other people. And you see through to their humanity and the light consciousness that we all have the ability to tap into. We all have light and dark. We all have shadows. It's, do you consciously make a decision to partake in evil? When you are turning your cheek, when you are justifying being negligent or ignorant to something because you don't want to know, that's a conscious decision. And it's important that we dig for the truth now more than ever. And we selectively pull back our energy when we feel that something is just outright a lie, a scam. And I think that this trial is that. I think that the pre-hearing, the prelim hearing is so far-fetched, so ridiculous, so sensationalized. It wants to pull us in, to negate it, or to it just to trap us into a mental spar. But it's kind of like, someone throwing a tantrum in a corner. If you ignore it, eventually it has to just, like, you're not giving it any more energy. Eventually they'll run out of fuel. So I just heard be bold. Be bold. Yeah. I think it's a message for everybody to be bold. most importantly is when you're seeing something with a child out in public that doesn't seem right, call it in. Tell on that weird uncle. Give your own testimony. Because with all the readings that I've done, I mean, there's no one that has not experienced SA in some form or another throughout their lifetime. And if you claim to have, I would, well, let me not say that. I'm not going to, like, it's just very common and it's very sad. It's very sad that, like, in society, it's like, oh, go to therapy. Oh, and then the therapists are kind of trained in such a way that gaslights you to make you feel like, oh, you have to be grateful and things like that. No two people's healing is going to look the same. No two people's trauma is going to look the same. And that's why you are the most right person for the healing. Don't give your power away to others. What I find is I pick up little hidden gems from people along the way, like their master class or their testimony or their life skills that they've learned. And I pick up what resonates and I leave the rest. And to form my own novel, like my own master class by, experience. And so we've just been taught to be too polite and to not speak up and intimidated. And so, yeah, I think I just wanted to pop on here and just do a quick off the cuff reading that I'm just feeling like this Charlie Kirk trial and everything in the media, I feel like it's getting away from true crime. And the true crime is behind the smashination. The true crime is that hundreds of thousands of children are being transported and is being bartered overseas, and these huge deals and money. And yeah, it's like, I definitely feel him and a sense of like him wanting to revive the family unit, which I can agree with. A sense of unity and community, and not stopping until the truth is brought out completely. And yeah, there's been a lot in the media that's just going tit for tat and back and forth, blaming. And when it comes down to it, they want us to stay separated with race, religion, countries, because we're more powerful united against the elites, the deletes. And if we are distracted by fighting each other, then we can't come after the real culprits. And then on top of that, AI has gotten so sophisticated that it's automatically run. They can program it to do, Satan's bidding. So they can kick back and act like I was none the wiser. So that's why it's so important to be intentional about everything you choose to let in your bubble, because you are what you consume. And I think that's the kind of like taking inventory. That's the part of it, taking inventory during Mercury retrograde. I think that's really, really important. And one of my lifelong battles with myself, I think probably I had a past life where It was terrifying to come out about my abilities. I think I've been doing this for a long time because I just, it comes natural. Like I was, you know, I never realized I was channeling as a kid. It's just like people would bash me for being like a know-it-all or, but it didn't come from ego. It never did. And it never came from having to be right. Like as I got older, the confidence started to whittle away because that's what school and society had conditioned me to believe, that I was overstepping my boundaries or overstepping other people's toes or being impolite. And it's taken me like, 40 years to get back to trusting myself through that whole process and learning and self-awareness. And I don't think we're ever going to stop healing. I think it's a constant journey. I think we die when we don't learn anymore. That's when it's time. And even then on the other side, we keep learning and ascending. So yeah, that's where the heart portal, the heart space and love comes in, because I think others can agree with me that I can forgive someone that takes accountability, that understands where they went wrong and actually takes ownership of it. What I can't forgive is someone that blatantly gaslights to get the attention off of them and their wrongdoings and continues on with the psyop, with the illusion, with the cover up. And I think that's something like on a broader scale with the divine masculine and the divine feminine. I think on a collective divine masculine, they've hidden so much for so long that it's taken a sense of reality away from the divine feminine. They've created an unsafe environment, world, to where they can't even trust their own divine given intuition. And that's just like I'm saying on a collective level, like what they have been trying to indoctrinate into us. And how do we reverse that? How do we reverse engineer what they have corrupted within us in our own divine purposes? And that starts with creating a space to tell the unfiltered truth, to opening up to testimony, and to allow the nurturer, the divine feminine, to heal on a collective level, to validate the divine feminine in what she knew all along but was too afraid to say, so that there can be healing, so that the divine masculine, the divine feminine can work together to heal, to reverse the generational curses, to transmute, to reunite. And they're trying to do that, to dismantle that with the transhuman agenda and with the gender flipping and all the stuff that they were doing that came out in the Epstein files with eugenics and flip-flopping the genders in utero. I mean, there's just so much. And the cloning, at this point, we could all be a clone, a world of clones, and not even know it. Right? So we could be drawing on someone else entirely of a clone's consciousness and being an experiment, which really truly is my when it comes down to it, all the DNA, this is our 7th cycle, 7th generation of humanity, like the ant farm. And It's like every time we don't get it, they like reboot. So we're all sprinkled, we're all mixed matched DNA wise. And it's a big, big, huge star seed experiment. So going within and knowing yourself and having such a deep self awareness of what you want, what your purpose is, what your life path is, what personality defects are you working with? We all got them. Where are your shortcomings? How can I surround myself with trustworthy people that are loyal, that are on the same journey I am? And I got to say, I don't think all people are created equally. I think some people don't have souls. And I think your choice and decision in this matrix determines that. How much of your soul is still in your body? How much of it is still connected to the light, the source of all that is? Now you can reclaim it. You can reclaim your power. You do make mistakes. You do, but it starts with accountability. And I just feel like the biggest message that comes through whenever I connect with Charlie Kirk Case and when I connect with his spirit or when I feel him around me is that it's just going to take one man in this whole secret society, and they'll fall like dominoes, to talk about their own trauma. And I think we have to create a space for the men to talk about that, because society has also conditioned them to not have feelings. So someone asked on my channel, again, I went off on a tangent, but how do we reverse the curse? The Necronomicon book. It's taking accountability. It's not erasing history. It's acknowledging it, the true history. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. Don't get distracted with the ping pong match in media on X and character assassinations. What we need to look beyond are the hidden symbolism and all the, over inundation of details and facts and stories and storylines is the children, the abuse that's behind that wall of, facts, details that really are quite trivial when you zoom out and you look at what's happening behind these groups, because it's all connected. Look at the judge's tie, the color of the tie. Pay attention to that. Attention to the fact that Tyler Robinson is standing in between a blue car and a red car in the garage footage. And then, the light happens to be in the exact shape of Israel. And so, look, apathy, boredom in love life, discontent with job, feeling unhappy with career, disillusionment with money, envy of others in financial situations. Yeah, these are all negative spirits that can get us off onto the wrong path. So transmuting and healing and finding what actually makes you happy. Half of us don't even really haven't had the time to figure that out, right? We think we know what makes us happy, but when we get there, we're like, not as happy as I thought. So I think collectively, humans, there's this disconnection, huge disconnection from spirituality, from source. And even like in the spiritual community, it's like there's just a lot of blame with demons and stuff like that. And, you know, I think we have, with all of our choices up until this point, have at some point made a decision, whether we knew it consciously or not, that fed a demon. If you're, you know, just by symbolism alone, if you've drank a cup of coffee at Starbucks, if you've lied, if you've, there's so much. And it's all about intention, how you use your tools, when you know better, you do better. How do we do better? We first take accountability. So I think collectively during this Mercury retrograde, which is a doozy, it's about a spiritual overhaul, a reassessment, and a redefining on purpose and adjusting accordingly. And I'm like hearing something along the lines like, to envy another is wanting to throw out witchcraft with destiny swapping. Yeah, interesting. Comparing yourself to others, that's a trap. That's a trap set by the elites. Greed. That's most definitely a trap. So what my advice is, I'm asking him in my mind right now, telepathically, like what do we leave them with? Find where you have energy leakage. Find what you feel you have an attachment to and can't respond differently to the loop that keeps you trapped. Work on that. Start there. I'm also seeing the number 4. This could be the number of the archangels, angels. I heard explore different responses. It's okay to take a break. If you get triggered and get emotional, just remove yourself. You don't owe anybody an explanation. You don't owe anybody your energy. You don't owe anybody showing up. You can disappear if you want. That's how you take back your power, and that's how you become sovereign. What else? Confrontation. I'm getting the number 5. So number 5 is also significant to extreme changes in every area of your life. Changes in conflict, changes in competitive work environments, feelings of boredom coming in. I think the collective is really feeling boring, bored lately, and bored, frustrated with financial instability. I mean, that's just everywhere, right? Everything's inflated so much. We got to collectively get out of that survival mode. We've been given all of our natural instincts for survival out in the wild. Yet they've clipped our wings of our ancient knowledge. So getting back to basics, and we'll pull one last card and I'll leave y'all there. The Tower. Break up the end of fragile relationships, a profound shift in how you perceive love, unexpected job loss, significant disruptions at work, workplace turmoil, financial setbacks. You can look at that as a setback, but I'm seeing that as a huge upgrade. It releases you into the wild to actually explore and find what you're meant to. Um, yeah, I keep hearing profound shift. So I do think that the trial is going to allow for profound shifts in energetic focus from the collective. I am feeling just this really strong pull, like, I just feel like Candace Owens is being extremely targeted right now. And I think she's going to have a huge second awakening in front of us where she exposes even more injustice with what they're trying to do. I see that she's protected. I see that there is timing is everything, divine timing. But making sure that she's not emotionally dragged into something and baited into it is so important. And waking up to 5 people around her that might have flipped or might have had to compromise themselves in some way, that's coming very strong. So, I don't know if I'm going to post this, but just wanted to pop on here and, yeah, give a reading. So, like, subscribe, share, and it helps my channel and the algorithm. Love and light.